to seeing him start.
Hello and welcome back to Blue Tinted Glasses. It's Friday night. We've got a game tomorrow, which means it's time for a Predict the Team show. Trust me, Doc is very, very much looking forward to this one. He was just trying to speak to me then, and the credits started. So we'll get his thoughts throughout the night. Make sure if you are in the chat or if you are watching on Twitter, on YouTube, hit the like button, hit subscribe, and get your comments in. More importantly, let us know how you're doing, and let us know. Will give us a hand really with building this team tonight. Anil, mate, what is going on?
All good, man. Up for the cup. It's that time of year. Normally it's something to look forward to. Maybe it's a bit of a distraction this year, but maybe going into a game without any pressure will be something to look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. Andreas, mate, I know you've had an exam. I hope it went all good, mate. I hope you're doing well too.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely smashed my microeconomics exam today. I'm excited for tomorrow. I mean, the fact that there isn't much pressure on the game is really nice, just to get in, hopefully enjoy the football without the stress. And then I'm very excited to hopefully see some youngsters get some minutes and be given the chance to impress, which is one thing that I really love about the FA Cup, right? Seeing some of the youngsters in the academy getting that shot. So yeah, really looking forward to it, to be honest.
Good stuff. So people in the chat, we know that you've got right backs on your mind. We know that you've got Woyo Coulibaly on your mind. We will talk about him, so stay patient. We will get onto it a bit later in the show, because I've seen there's a little bit of an update from Percy, and he's basically confirmed it, so we know that it is happening. It's not, before you check his Twitter, it's not on his Twitter. It's been hidden in an article somewhere. He's mentioned it somewhere. I'll bring it up later. So we have Leicester versus QPR tomorrow, lads. FA Cup, third round. Is it third or fifth round? Third round, isn't it?
Third
round.
Yeah.
And yeah, I thought we'd obviously do this Predict the Team show. It's going to be a little bit different this week because we won't have some of the usual suspects. You know, we're thinking maybe we're going to go a little bit youth heavy. We will soon find out. Again, people in the chat help us out with it. So without further ado, let's get started, lads. Goalkeeper. I'll hand it to you, Anil, first. I think it will be Jakob, because I think you just want to give him as many minutes now, because he's going to be the goalkeeper for the next few weeks at least. So, yeah, do you agree with that?
100%. Normally in the cups, that's when you would rotate. I think if Mads wasn't injured, this would probably be Jakob's debut, maybe on the Rood, but you've got to give him as much game time as possible. I think he's starting to look more and more confident on the ball, which is good. And you know what? This could really suit us, because you know what? Having a game where we have high possession, just so you know, the last time we played QPR last season, they beat us 2-1. They only had 2 shots on goal the entire match. We had 76% possession. So actually, I would love to see Stolarczyk start, and hopefully, you know, he can show us what he can do on the ball, because it could be quite important to breaking them down.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on it, Andreas? Do you think that, do you agree with me and Anil about keeping Jakob in, or do you maybe agree with what Coulibaly's saying? Let's not risk it. You know, I know it's very, you know, it's very unlikely that a goalkeeper would get injured during a match, although Hermansen did. So maybe just don't risk it and give Iverson a shot. Maybe. What's your thought?
I think Stolarczyk needs the minutes in the legs, right? He's been getting them since the Liverpool game. Obviously, still building up that sharpness, right? Getting into the thick of things, and as Anil pointed out, getting the possession, getting a game where you feel on top but not constantly under pressure, I think will do him good. He's done, I think, all right so far as the first keeper, but he needs that extra bit of sharpness. The more minutes in the legs for this young keeper, the better. So no need to rotate.
Okay. Just before we continue, I wanted to bring this comment out. It's such a nice comment. Nick says, congrats on the show, guys. Very informative, knowledgeable, and professional. The best Leicester streaming show since you started. Absolutely smashing it, mate. Nick, thank you so much for those kind words. It is very much appreciated. We're glad that you found us. I haven't seen you around in the comments much before, mate, if at all. So thanks for, you know, glad that you found us, and really are happy that you're enjoying it, mate. So yeah, stick around, because as I tell everyone, there is content every single day. Moving forwards, I don't usually go from the back to the front like this, so we won't do that now. Do you think, guys, whoever wants to take it, who is the no-brainer? Who is the banker that is in this team somewhere that you think will happen? Go on,
Anil.
Oliver Skip.
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to say as well.
Bet it.
There's one player who's nailed on it.
Yeah.
Right.
Playing as an inverted left back. No, playing as a CDM.
Yeah. Whereabouts here, mate? On the left, is it he normally goes, I think?
It could be. That one is more debatable because it depends who his midfield partner is going to be. But I suspect he will play there, yes.
I agree. I know you do too, Doc. That's a hard thing to say there. You do too. Yeah, I just think obviously was it the Newcastle game that him and Hamza played, and it was absolutely honking. It was just shocking. He's not obviously started a game since then, but I mean, Anil's right, isn't he, Duck? That people have to get minutes at some point, and this is probably going to be the one where he gets them.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a game where he could maybe turn his Leicester career around, right? This is the easiest one he's gonna get on paper in the FA Cup. Obviously, we could draw an easier opponents in the next round if we go through, but who knows, right? On paper, this is where he could get that redemption arc going. It's been a rough first half year for Skip. With the money we paid for him, I think he needs to come good. So we have to see something from him, and I want to see him be an engine in this game in the midfield. To be honest, I want to see him be one of the best players on the pitch tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. Funny one here, Anil. You lads are very, very good and growing quick. If you lads keep this up, Locks will be boxing Jake Paul next year.
My money's on Locks all day, every day. Yeah. I have the tiger.
Cartwright will not be playing tomorrow because so I want to let's just bring it. Well, I can't bring it up, but I'll read it out to you. So Jerry Munger and Jake Evans start for Leicester under 21s tonight. Unlikely to feature for first team tomorrow.
Jeremy Munger starting as well for the under 21s. That's the big one because that's the one that is like the new Will Alves that everyone wants to see. But he's playing for the under 21s. He's only 15 or 16 or something though. So I think to be fair, it might be a bit fast, but there are a lot of rumors that he might be going to Man City in the summer. So that's why people are a bit nervous about it.
I mean, if you're an optimist, right, you could say maybe he gets 60 minutes today and then he just gets the bench appearance. And if the game goes our way, he gets on for the last 5-10 minutes, right? Doesn't really require that much sharpness to be on the pitch for that long if we're leading heavily. That's the optimist in me, but realistically, right, both him, Cartwright, and Evans certainly not starting tomorrow and unlikely to make the bench, I want to say.
Yep, I'd agree with you. So yeah, I did also see a reply to that tweet though. Somebody saying, that a win would be really important for confidence. So maybe Ruud won't change things too much. But on the other hand, we do have a game on Wednesday in the Premier League. That's the focus. So we'll have to see. I'm sure it'll just be a kind of a mismatch. Well, we're about to tell you. We're about to tell you what the team's going to be. So it's fine. All right, then. Well, let's stick there. Who is going to be Oliver Skip's midfield partner? I would personally hazard a guess at Harry Winks. I don't know. Yeah,
I agree.
I'm going to say Harry Winks because I think you need a little bit of quality. Throw in Skip in there. For example, if you had another Skip Hamza midfield that did so terribly against Newcastle, Doc, I don't think it would be much better against QPR just because QPR are in the Championship. That midfield of Skip and Hamza, that's not a great midfield. So I think it will be Winks.
I mean, I'm going to be honest, right? I did want it to be Cartwright, and then I wanted Hamza to be the right back. But seeing as Cartwright starting, right, that's surely not happening. And Ndidi, not back from injury. Sumare has to rest him. He's been playing 90 minutes for ages now. So I think Winks will get 60 minutes. And then I'm actually intrigued to see who will get subbed on for if we're winning, because I don't think Winks will get the full 90. But I'm pretty confident he'll start alongside Skip.
And Nell, are you in agreement with both of us about Winks playing alongside Skip tomorrow? Because somebody else has put here, Winks gets the best out of Skip, which isn't even that good, but he will get the bet. And you need a bit of quality on the ball, don't you, in midfield?
Yeah, well, look, to be fair, the one question is Hamza going to play? Now, I suspect he's not going to play any part because I think if he really is going on loan to Sheffield United, they won't risk him A, getting injured or B, getting cup tied. So otherwise, he might come into the team at either right back or as a CDM. In fact, he has been inverting when he's been in that role. But I don't think Hamza will play any part. If he does, that's going to answer your question there. So yeah, I think you're right. I think he's going to have Winks. Winks, I'm not sure, has played the full 90. Maybe he did in the last game, but he's still coming back from fitness himself. So I think he's going to get at least a 60-minute run out.
Yeah, I agree with you, mate. So we will put Winks into.
Well, that's interesting.
Team.
Sheffield United out of the cup from Tony Smith. So they might not care if the player's cup tied or not. So maybe we will see Hamza after all.
Well, you don't want him injured, do you? You don't want him
That's
getting
true.
injured if there's a move lined up. Go on, Doc, mate.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, right, I was really sure Cartwright would at the very least be on the bench or potentially even starting, because that would open up the possibility of Winks either just getting some minutes or getting a full rest as well, as just coming back to full fitness after that injury, right, against Chelsea. And that would then allow Hamza Chowdhury to be the right back and James Justin to get a bit of a break from the first team. And if Justin is going to play 90 minutes again, I mean, we don't have any other right backs if Hamza Chowdhury isn't available. So, yeah, I mean, the way that I want this puzzle piece to be filled out doesn't really seem to be a possibility anymore. But yeah, I think, and it depends on how far Hamza is in negotiations. I don't expect an injury worry to be the biggest concern. I think it will most likely be due to the fact that he's going like tomorrow or something, or maybe even on the day, right? But then again, haven't heard anything on the rumors in a few days now. So I think the right back spot is rough and very fluffy here with Chowdhury's position.
Yeah, just because somebody had mentioned in the chat, Godsmark Ford also is playing for the under-21s tonight, so unlikely that he will feature or at least start tomorrow. You never know, I suppose. You could have Jerry Munger on the bench tomorrow. I just can't really see it. I think they would have left him out of the squad tonight for the under-21s. Okay. I personally think, lads, the next obvious one is the striker, and I think it's going to be Patson Daka starting this one. But if you disagree, please let me know now.
I think that's all right.
Could it be Odson Eduard?
Oh God, fucking hell! I don't think so. Just because I think it's the worst kept secret in football right now.
Yeah,
that Leicester are trying to get rid of that guy.
Exactly. I was trolling a little bit there, but I am interested if you'll play any part whatsoever, because the thing is that like Palace obviously don't want him back. But if you play him, he gets cup tied again, which can sometimes devalue a player.
That's true. Anybody gonna have this as a shout, Doc? Anil,
are you with how important he's been under Root? Definitely not. He's quite clearly currently a start on the right wing, a position where we don't have much depth. It's what I'm not say, and are you? So risking an injury there, you could say, to someone who's been playing a lot of minutes and is in quite an old age, I think it's fair to say, in terms of football playing. I don't think he'll start at all. Maybe he'll come on if we need it later on, but certainly not a start in my eyes tomorrow.
I actually think he might not even be in the squad at all. I
think that's a good point as well. Yeah,
for exactly the reason that Doc's mentioned, just to literally give him avoid the temptation. I think there's more than enough people that could play that place. But you are right, he could play up front, and I actually think he's not done a bad job when he's been up there. Actually, he was pretty awful in the Man United game, to be fair. So maybe Rude's seen enough of that experiment and been like, nope.
Left back, lads. Now, Luke Thomas came in for an ill Victor Christiansen against Aston Villa. Luke Thomas, for me, and I know a lot of people agreed, was my Leicester man of the match for that game. Now, the question is, does that mean that Rude will play him in the league game on Wednesday night? And if that's the case, maybe Victor, Doc, is the guy to get the cup minutes, and Luke is the Premier League player now.
I mean, if I can take the man's on that one, right? I think, to me, it's very much Luke Thomas has 2 games this year or this season for Leicester, really, right? He was a part of a shambolic defense in Brentford, and then had a good defensive performance against Aston Villa. There is an argument to be made, and as the biggest VK fan, right, I don't care who plays currently, as long as it's whoever does the best job of keeping us up. There is an argument to be made here, in my opinion, that if he's in good shape, he's built the confidence back up, give him another game, right? Because one good game is just one thing, but can you do it again and, build up more confidence potentially against QPR? But with the game on Wednesday, it really squeezes it tight, right? So I'm leaning towards the fact that whoever plays tomorrow won't be playing on Wednesday, to be honest. So I think Christiansen is the most likely choice, because when we build out from defense with 3 at the back, and it's the left back staying back, we kind of hide all of Victor's strengths. So I think we should have Victor starting this game and then give Luke Thomas another game in the Prem to see if he can keep it up.
Wow.
I'm shocked he said that.
What are you thinking, Anil, mate? Because I think this is quite a tough one because of that reason that we've just spoken about. That, you know, you'd imagine whichever one doesn't play tomorrow plays on Wednesday. So who do you think will be the Premier League left back next week, and who will be the FA Cup one tomorrow?
I expect it to be Christiansen, and I think one reason for that as well, though, is that if he was ill, you know, he might not still be completely over that illness yet. So that's another reason. But I think clearly he's the one that's the first choice player, I think. So I think it'll be Luke Berto Thomas.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So you think the opposite to Doc?
Yeah. Because like I said, I don't think Christiansen will necessarily be a fully 100% fit. Therefore, why risk him? I think he is the first choice left back on the road. So he's going to play that position in the Premier League.
I mean, there is a point we made there about we don't know how fit he is, but with the fact that he wasn't mentioned in the report by Ruud in terms of fitness or illness or whatever you want to call it, right? The injury report. I think he's back to full strength. That would be my assumption after it was just illness after all, unless they're hiding an injury from us for some reason. I think it is a tough case because when we're building from the back and the way we've been using Christiansen in the past games, we are not utilizing his strength when it is James Justin pushing up high. Quite clearly, Luke Thomas had a good defensive performance against Aston Villa, so I want to see that, give him the chance to continue that solid defensive performance against Crystal Palace at home, a game where we could have quite a lot of the ball and try and build up from this three at the back. So I think we've jumped potentially to one of the hardest positions to predict alongside the right back. We don't have much depth in either of these positions currently. We have someone coming back from an illness, a guy who's, you know, jumping forward in form, you could say, or maybe being in good form potentially after one good game. And it's a rough one. My gut feeling is Christiansen, but it depends if he's still sick, of course, then he won't be playing.
Well, we've gone to a poll. We've gone to a poll in the chat, and the winner is Luke Thomas for tomorrow. Okay. So that's who we'll go with. We will go with Luke Thomas in the left back position for tomorrow's game against QPR. And then I suppose if he does really well, he'll probably play again on Wednesday. Maybe if he doesn't, then it'll probably be VK to come in. But the chat have spoken. Just a quick question. I want to just send this to you, Anil, and both of you really. But I was thinking Anil at the time. Dorco in the chat keeps talking on a lot of the streams. He's commented about he doesn't understand why fullbacks can't play on the opposite side. What are both of your opinions on this? Because Dorco is very much the opinion that we should try Luke Thomas at right back because of how poor a time James Justin's having. What is your thoughts on this, lads? I'll come to you first, Anil.
Yeah, that is very rarely done in the modern game because in the 4-2-3-1 system, the player that's in front of them normally plays with, let's talk about right back for a second. Your right back will be right-footed because your right winger will be left-footed. So the idea is the right winger can cut in on their left foot and have a shot, and therefore you want your right back to have the overlapping run, like we showed on the analysis show a few times, how Justin got past Justin and to be able to cross the ball with their stronger foot on the right-hand side and cross it in. So typically, that's one of the most commonly used systems in football. That's the reason that you do it. But just to argue the other side, which is an interesting thing, what we have seen with James Justin, especially on quite a few occasions, is after running down the right-hand side, he's actually cut back in on his left foot and even taken a shot a few times with his left foot. And spoilers for a little bit later on, but the new right back that we might be signing can also use both feet. And I wonder if that's one of the reasons why. However, the problem is if you put Luke Thomas on the right-hand side, then the problem is when they get to the byline, they're not going to be able to cross it as well because they won't be doing it with their stronger foot. So I think it's unlikely for that reason because you don't want two people. But the unusual thing is for example, when we have Jordan Ayew on the right wing, he's not actually left-footed either. So he doesn't actually cut in on his left foot to have a strike. So look, I have seen it done before, but usually it's not done for that reason because you're expecting that fullback to get up. And in the system that Ruud plays, both fullbacks at times are expected to get forwards and support the attack. So they want to be making that pass with their stronger foot. So that's why they're playing on their more dominant side, which is why you haven't seen JJ at left back often, although he has occasionally gone there.
Yeah, I mean, Doc, there's got another comment here about defenders also want to defend with their strong foot in front of them, forcing players wide. I mean, I don't think you'd be too keen, Doc, on seeing Victor Christensen playing as a right back, mate, this season.
I have never seen that in any point of his career. He doesn't belong in the right back position. And I think I like fullbacks to have the versatility, someone like JJ Wright. I think that's a very good squad player normally to have who can fit in both gaps. Kevin Dick's been doing it for Copenhagen recently with an injury crisis. Like, it can work makeshift, but you often don't get the best out of them. It's also how they position, right? When to get up the pitch, where to stand on the pitch. And in particular, as I think Anil made all the great points, I'm not going to sit here and just mouth him off or whatever you said when, just repeat what he said. However you phrase that correctly, I'm not fully aware. I'll hold my hands up.
No, it's all right.
But yeah, whatever he said was completely right. And I agree with that to pretty much 100%.
Okay, right. Let's talk then about the centre-back pairing. Let's do it. So I, for one, don't think Caleb Okoli is going to feature. And I have a feeling Caleb Okoli might be included in this deal, potentially. Speculation for this right back, Woyo Coulibaly, because Parma, we've heard for like the last 2 weeks, are interested in Caleb Okoli, and Leicester were okay with him leaving. Again, it's a bit, we don't really know what's gone on there. Maybe he's homesick. Some players do just get homesick. They don't adapt to the league very well, the country, and all of that good stuff. But yeah, I think if that is the case, if Okoli is looking to leave, then he won't be played. He won't be risked for injury in an FA Cup game. That's my take on it. But I'll come to you first, Anil. Who is your centre-back pairing for tomorrow? Does Wilson Brown get a look in?
No, I don't think he will. I think it will be Okoli and Fass, which is the one that we ended with in the last game. I think it's a very good point, the one that you make about could Okoli be heading back to Italy. So I would say that if you don't see him starting tomorrow, that's very strong, very likely that he is going to go. But I think it'll be him and Fass playing tomorrow.
So you're going for Okoli and Fass. What are you saying, Doc?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think unless there is a transfer, like a genuine transfer cooking, it's been, we've seen the suggestion that they want to get rid of him or whatever, but I don't think it's involved with a deal to Parma. I doubt they'd have the cash to afford him, considering what I'd expect we'd sign Coulibaly for, because he only has 6 months left on his deal, right? So Fass Okoli, if there's something about the transfer rumors that Okoli's leaving, then probably he won't start, and it could then be who else actually? Cody starting, I guess, and then Vestergaard, don't want to risk him for this when he's coming back to fitness. We need him fresh for Wednesday, and then maybe you see Tom Wilson-Brown on the bench, and he could jump in, get the last 30 minutes if we're leading, and get some minutes in the pitch, because obviously I want to see the youngsters here, and so far you can see not really any of them in the squad, but I don't think now is time, especially when we have these centre-backs who are void of confidence, right? They need some of that, and this is a perfect place to build it up. Let them have the ball, let them play it out from the back successfully, and feel like they're in control as well of a game, because I think that's something that has taken their confidence away, especially someone like Fass, who was used to be able to pretty much dribble through a whole team sometimes in the championship when he felt like it, because he was just so good at that level, right? So he needs some of that confidence back, and I don't expect Tom Wilson-Brown to be starting ahead of any of them.
Okay, there we go. The fullback has only 6 months left. Yeah, I wasn't saying a straight swap, but obviously money would have to be involved. We're not giving Okoli away like that. While playing inverted wing-back role, having opposite foot as a dominant foot is useful. Somebody says they're going back to the fullback chat. Okoli and Fass, last chance for both of them, Common Boy says. But that's what we've decided on there. Be mad to let a current Italian squad defender leave before giving him a fair chance. Quickest centre back we have. Do we both agree with that? Is Okoli the quickest centre back we've got?
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. For centre backs, yeah, definitely. Fass has a bit of pace in him. Okoli has a bit more than some pace in him, and the other two, they like to walk when they go on the treadmill and just have a nice walk. But we don't have rapid centre backs, but I think Okoli by far the fastest.
Okay. Right. Right back. Now, I think this is where we could see Hamza Chowdhury, guys.
If he's
Hamza Chowdhury,
for sure, Hamza. Definitely Hamza, unless he's leaving tomorrow or in 2 days and they don't want to risk the injury, or Sheffield United said, if we're going to loan this guy, don't play him until we get the deal over the line. Whatever the reason might be, it has to be, stipulating in a transfer for Hamza, for him not to start. I think JJ needs a break. This is finally his time to get a week away from the team and rebuild a bit of confidence. He's playing a whole lot of minutes as well, JJ. So yeah, Hamza for sure, unless the transfer is there.
Or Anil, do they give JJ the game because they know that on Wednesday we're going to have a different right back to put in there?
Nah, I don't think they would give a new signing his debut unless you're absolutely desperate. I would say, though, I do wonder if there could be an under-21 player that makes their debut in this particular position. I'm not sure, but I've got a feeling not, because I don't really know the under-21 team too well. But this is the one position where I'm really not sure. I could see there being a little bit of a surprise, like one that no one saw coming, but like no one really... Well, a few seasons ago, Brandon Cover got an appearance, didn't he? And I don't think did too badly, although he got changed at half time. But I think it's going to be Hamza.
Okay, yeah. You tried to convince yourself. I was
yeah. And then the more I did, I was more like, what's this guy talking about? And it was myself that was talking.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. Brandon Cover's on loan, isn't he? He's on loan somewhere this season.
Yeah.
I don't know where he
Port
is.
Vale. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Port Vale down in the League too.
There is another JJ in the under-21 team, but I believe that he's playing tonight, so I don't think he's...
The Joseph guy.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can't decide between the two, but, I would say maybe... I would probably lean myself slightly towards JJ, but this is the perfect opportunity to just give him a rest, right? And just, he'll be on the bench, I'm sure, Duck, right? JJ, he'll probably be on the bench, so if things get... if things start badly for Hamza, you can always make that change later on in the game. So maybe it's a good time, though, lads, for a bit of confidence for JJ, no?
It would be, right? It would be. But at the same time, he's been playing so many minutes here. He's lacking in confidence. I say, this is a chance to build it up. But yet again, a game on Wednesday. Do you want to risk your only real right back currently to be injured as well? I heavily doubt you risk him for this game, even if he is devoid of confidence. It's there's certainly a good argument to be made for it, but yeah, unless Chowdhury is leaving, I think he's starting.
Yeah. Okay, now we've got the three exciting positions to talk about.
Hey.
Does anybody see Bobby Decorations for Christmas playing? No, Bobby Coulibaly. Does anybody see him getting some minutes tomorrow at all?
Yes.
Yep.
You both see him off the left, off the right?
I think he might even start. I think the thing that depends is how strong is Ruud going to go. But I think Ruud is going to go pretty strong, to be honest with you. Like, we've lost 5 in a row. We need to get a win, right? And I think we need to get a win that isn't just like a kind of like crappy 1-0, got off a corner sort of thing. I think we need a fairly dominant performance. I think, if anything, I feel he will start strong and then he might bring other people on. I do think he's going to start one interesting player, which we'll get to in a moment. And that player, to be fair, could be competing with Bobby Reid. But I actually think Bobby Reid is going to start at right wing tomorrow.
See, I disagree.
Okay.
I think it will be Facundo Buonanotte off the right.
That's possible, but normally I think he comes in the set. Here's an interesting one, by the way, and this is a fair point. This was tried at Fulham, by the way.
That was true.
That's not the worst shout from Brian.
Yeah, I mean, at Fulham, right? He was the guy who'd cover or plug any hole in the starting 11 when they really needed him to. He was very versatile. I remember one of the things they spoke a lot about on the... I can't remember the Leicester podcast, the one that BBC does.
Yeah, when you're
essentially,
smiling.
Locks, what you're saying is you think the number 10 is going to be Will Alves. That's what you're saying to me, is what I think, right? Which is why you think one another.
It's hope. It's hope.
No, I think that's very realistic. In particular, due to the fact that Will Alves got minutes at in the City game, right? That shows that he's even close to breaking into the first team and at actually getting minutes when we're in the Premier League. I think Coulibaly off the right, because Coulibaly has also impressed somehow. I do see there is some drilling from my neighbor, so I'm muting a bit. But I do think Coulibaly will get a few minutes to finally see if he can prove himself as a potential starter after some good bench appearances.
Hey, I've been overruled, chat. I wanted Facundo. I've been overruled. These guys. Well, I think you both would like Facundo, but you just think it will be De Cordova-Reid, which I fully understand. And Neil, you said there will be someone interesting starting. Who is that? Is it Buonanotte in the 10? Is it Will Alves? Is it Mavididi? Or maybe who have I missed? Is it
Golding?
Golding. Ooh,
Well, it's funny that was mentioned as well, to be honest with you. But no, I think given as Duck has said that Will Alves came on against Man City, it's written in the stars. He also played in the FA Cup before. So I think he's going to play. But I do think that the big question is like, what position is he going to play? Which I don't know. Like, he has been a cam. I could still see him playing as a winger or drifting in.
I think off the left. I'm fairly certain in that, actually.
Exactly. That's so funny enough. Exactly what Duck was saying is that pre-season there was one game where Steve Cooper tried both Will Alves and Michael Golding, and how he used Will Alves is he did use him. He came on for Steffi Mavididi, and at that point Mavididi was playing not quite as the winger but the one drifting in, so he was on the left hand side. So I actually agree with Duck. That's where I think he'll be, and that would mean that the number 10 could be another player that we've already mentioned. So, which would be Buonanotte. So that's what I'm excited to see. That would mean no McAteer though starting, but it has been mentioned that he's only just sort of come back from injury, so that's why I think he won't necessarily start.
And this is where Alves kind of operated when he came on against Manchester City, right?
Correct. He came on for Mavididi. Yeah, he came on for Mavididi. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What are we thinking to that then? Do you think? Because most people have seen Alves. Well, they've considered him a 10, right? We just all assumed he's 10. I get where you're both coming from. Do you think that would, that position in this system under Ruud van Nistelrooy would maybe suit him more than coming off the left?
I think if he wants any chance of minutes as well, he needs to be playing off the left, right? Because at the number 10, you have Buonanotte and Bilal El-Kanouche both fighting for the spot, and Bilal El-Kanouche being one of the key players currently. One of the reasons I'm also backing onto the fact that he will be playing left wing is the fact that that's when we saw him under Ruud, right? In those 10 minutes he got against Manchester City. And this also opens up the opportunity for Buonanotte to get a start. And I think very likely that, one of these front three players will be going off at the 60, 70 minute mark for Michael Golding, to be honest. I think Michael Golding will get some minutes as well because he hasn't been playing for the U21 today. That's my general game plan. And I think all of these three players will get the chance to prove themselves. These are squad players, you want to say, right? Who have obviously Buonanotte have been getting more minutes than De Cordova-Reid and Alves have been getting the least. But these are the players that you've seen Ruud utilize as his attacking 10 or right wing or left wing substitutions, and now they get their chance to get it from the start.
Yeah, I was going to say that Ruud has used Xavi Simons when he was at PSV in exactly the same way. He started him out wide, but because he was a natural number 10, he would allow him to drift inside, and you'd have the fullback pushing up past them. And because we're playing QPR, we've got the better players than them, even though, fair play, they beat us last season. So I think we can expect us to have more possession. So therefore, he might nominally be starting on the left-hand side, but realistically, he's going to be playing as a 10 and hopefully dictating play. And look, I'm really hoping we do see it. I want to see either him or Golding start, because I think this is exactly what the cup games should be for, right? You want to see that one or two talented players from the academy and see what they've got. Even if they're rubbish, so what? Give them a chance. That's what I really think these competitions should be used for.
Yeah. And what do we fancy our chances, lads, if this is the lineup tomorrow? I mean, it should be more than enough, right, to beat QPR.
I will say QPR is in good form recently. They have been performing well. I play Football Manager weekly with like 10 guys from the UK, and a few of them are QPR fans. So I've had a chance to, while we've been playing Football Manager, watch a few of the games with them over screen share. QPR, obviously, they were horrible at the beginning. They've been picking up points, and they've been picking up in form, even with a few injuries. Nikolai Madsen, a Dane they bought in the summer window, really hit the ground running, but he's been hit by a tough injury. But apparently that didn't stop their good form. They're quite clearly feeling confident, and I know he's been chatting a bit of shit to me in the chat as well, saying, we're going to get it on Saturday. So quite clearly, they will come to play and look for a bit of a cup set, right? But I still think if we put a team out like this, we are heavy favorites. And for us as well, we know this game is crucial, not just to advance, but also get that confidence brewing again before two crucial home games. So I think we're favorites, but QPR will make it tougher than many expect, I think.
A lovely bit of fantasy right in here from Common Boy from Bangladesh. This match is we actually win while delivering Mona Lisa level elegant gameplay. It will boost our confidence in the Premier League because Everton is going down too. Let me just move this about 1 second and there we go. Let's do that.
I just wanted to show you this. This was from last season where QPR beat us 2-1. Why am I showing you this? I think there's an argument to say that this team here is stronger than the one that we're going to start tomorrow. You could argue
100%. No, what do you mean, man? Look at this lineup.
Well, you've got Dennis Pratt and Patson Daka in the team. That's why.
Yeah, but Daka will be in the team tomorrow again. Then remember.
Yeah, but you had Kiernan Dewsbury Hall, you had Mr. Fatawu, you had Mavadidi, you had Mads in goal. So look, to be fair, this game was a bit of a war crime. Look at that. They had 3 shots the entire game, 2 on target, 26% possession, and still won 2-1. But for all the shots we had, we couldn't hit a barn door. Probably not a surprise when you've got this man up front. But yeah, just wanted to share that with you. So there you go. I mean, yeah, look at the team that you've brought up there, Locks. By comparison, I think the championship team was stronger.
It is, yeah. But I mean, if you put in Bilal, if you put in JJ, arguably, if you put in, but no, I get what you're saying, and because Luke, Aussie Luke, put in the group chat yesterday a link to yours and his and Il, the match review, the season review, and I looked at the lineup that was on the screen. I thought that team is genuinely better than what we are fielding right now. That was with Vardy and Ricardo in there, you know what I mean? So Ricardo, Fatawu and Dewsbury Hall in there is like a significant upgrade on what we've got right now. That's just which is what we keep saying, right? We keep saying that Ndidi, Hermanson, Ricardo, Fatawu in our current team is a completely different team. Big time.
We've been so unlucky with this injuries, man. But I think it's important to say as well, when, as you showed on the stats, right, Anil, QPR came to defend against us last time out and play on the counter. I don't think they'll necessarily do that this time because they're feeling confident. They might want to give us a game, and that might make the game more scrappy and us less dominant. But I do also think that opens us up more to get even more goals or certainly score more of our chances than what we did in the last game. It's very different football we play now to then, I will say, obviously, different football to say the least. I think it's not an understatement. And QPR will be fencing themselves.
I suppose the difference is that we actually don't know what approach they're going to go for. They're in an interesting one where they look quite safe and secure now in the championship. So they don't really look like they can get into the playoffs. So they're not a million miles away. They probably won't go down. I think their manager's pretty good. So I'm curious. They might see it as a free hit or they might rotate their team a little bit. We shall see. I think one thing that does help us, though, is that last season they brought on Sinclair Armstrong, who hasn't necessarily got the best touch, but he's really fast and very good for playing counter-attack. And he literally scored with his first touch against us last year. This season, they've got this Swiss striker called Michael Frey, who I think is the better overall striker, but he's not that type of player. Neither is Lyndon Dykes. And I think that will work against them, that not having that kind of key threat on the break. This is probably famous last word. I'm going to get absolutely cooked tomorrow as I get the latest example made on blue tinted glasses shorts. But I'm saying I think they've got a better team, but their style might not help them as much. But we don't know what they're going to do. Like I say, but I think the reality is, I think actually they've got a better team than last year and we've got a worse one. And even in the first game where we beat them, if you remember, it took some Harry Winks magic to get the winner.
Well, thank you, boys, for helping and the chat for building that team. Now I feel like we've got something else to discuss, and that is Mr. Woyo Coulibaly. This is what people in the chat have been waiting for. Watch the numbers go up now. Is Woyo any good? But Big Wes says we're about to find out. Let's talk about it. And Nil, take it away, mate.
No worries. Well, this is hot off the presses because, I literally got the message from Locks at 20-6 going, "New fullback." It's like, what are you doing at work, mate? Get off work and start writing this up. So, of course, when the bat signal, the blue tinted signal goes out into the sky, this is what happens. You activate and you do what has been told. So, hot off the presses, I was looking at it myself. Now, just to kind of tease everyone a little bit, just before we do, I think this is important to look back at what Ruud said in the press conference, because we obviously did a fairly scathing show last night, Locks. We did the emergency stream where we were talking about, crisis at Leicester, which I still think is genuinely the case. But I do have to say that his comments did at least make me think that he hadn't been lied to. So here's what he said. He said, it was us. Are you close to signings? We're in the middle of the process. It's clear where we want to strengthen. We're working on that day and night. I feel a strong responsibility to get the right players in. It's a delicate process. It takes time. It requires a lot of effort and work to bring in the right players. And obviously a signing looks like it's been made today. So that's pretty interesting. What do you want in the window, Rude? This, I think, is the most key comment. He goes, we've been creating a style of play and players who fit into that are profiles who can get us to better results. Those are the profiles we've been talking about with recruitment and the people responsible for signing these players. It started in December and hopefully we can present something soon. And that, I think, is important with this signing in particular. How important are transfers? It's important because of the situation we're in. It demands we have to do better. It's development of the current players. And if there are players who fit in the picture and can make the club better in the long term, then we have to do it. And then, that brings us on to, I can do our guy, Woyo Coulibaly. I don't think we need to talk about the PSR. So I did the obvious thing, right? Let's compare him to James Justin and take a look at his stats. And I think that thing about the profile is extremely interesting because red, you've got JJ and green, you've got Woyo. And they feel like they couldn't be more different players if you tried. But I actually think that's a good thing because the thing that we said in the analysis show this week was this. JJ's stats looks good for a defensive right back, but they didn't look good for a fullback who was supposed to join the attack. And the example that we gave was Leif Davis. Now, I will just give you spoilers though. Woyo doesn't compare that well to Leif Davis either, but I think this is really good. Here are the similar players to who he is linked to. And oh my goodness, who's that in number 5 position? You can tell who's been on my PC clicking that link faster than, there we go, wearing the blue tinted glasses. It's Victor Christensen. But it's not just Victor Christensen. You can have a look at some of these other ones as well. Now, I think Kyle Walker's a bit of a misnomer because he's had a bit of an off season this year. But Joe Scally is someone that's been linked with, I think, Leicester a few times. I think he's even someone that came up in the scouting report. A lot of people in chat wanted him. And he is an offensive fullback. He's a fullback that is better at going forwards than he is defensively. Nelson Semedo at Wolves, the same thing, right? He used to play for Barcelona. We know he's not particularly good defensively, but going forwards, he had a very good game against us, right? The same with, this is another player that's been linked to a few Premier League clubs, Jackson Chachua from Verona. And also Josh Doig, who plays at Sassuolo now, played in Spain, is also very similar in terms of that profile. So yes, I think that what we can expect from this player is someone who goes there. Let me see what other information I've got here. Here we go. So this is what I got from him as well. So what positions can he play? Well, what's very interesting is he's played both right back and left back this season. Okay, so he's a versatile cover. He can basically use either foot. It seems like he can use his left foot actually a little bit better than his right foot, but he seems pretty good with his right foot. So the thing that we mentioned is that sometimes with JJ, the way that he's playing, because Fatawu's out injured, is he has cut in on his left foot a few times and had a strike. But JJ's left foot is decent. He's even scored some goals that way in the past, but it's maybe not the best. So that is something that's kind of interesting there. So what do you guys make of him? I'm going to give you my opinion in a second, but they're the facts as we've got them. And this is probably the most useful thing that I think we can look at in terms of his stats.
Yeah. If I can go first.
You got something to share?
Yeah.
I'm very excited for the type of profile. You mentioned it in what Rude said as well, right? It's about getting the right profile of players in. As you said, we discussed it on the analysis show. What is the point of having a defensive fullback if the defensive fullback gives away a goal each game due to, first of all, errors, but second of all, when we're struggling to score, we need someone who can be more clinical in the final third and deliver that final ball or that final cross, and he looks to be that type of profile. You can see it in his progressive carries as well. He's able to drag the ball out of defense and get the attack started. We need that because James Justin, he's been trying to do it, but way too often he had to turn around and pass it back or either lost the ball trying to beat his man. Even though the stats don't look brilliant, from what I've watched, he seems athletic. He seems to be able to turn with the ball well and run a decent distance with it and get a cross in or get a ball onto someone who can continue the attack. And I think that will be crucial for us, even though he might not be the best defensively. That doesn't really matter when the option we have defensively is giving a goal away a game at this point. So I think he fits exactly the profile I would imagine Root to want, and the profile Root has described and what it currently, from my eyes at the very least, is screaming out for in terms of style of play, right? We can clearly see James Justin being put as a square peg into a round hole. It doesn't work out with what Root bought from him. So this looks to be way closer to that. and a cheap transfer as well, with just 6 months to left on his contract. I don't expect this to be more than a few million quid, to be honest. I think this could be a bargain if he just does well and improves on JJ.
We'll come on to the cost in a moment, but I'll just throw another thing that's interesting about this. Who was the manager of Parma 3 seasons ago? Maybe 4 seasons ago.
Oh, here's a conspiracy theory.
Oh, it was a certain Italian manager that's now the manager of Chelsea, but in the meantime had a spell at Leicester City. And yes, Woyo Coulibaly was in that team with him. I don't know if you remember, we were also linked to a player called Adrian Bernabe when Enzo first came in as well. But essentially, we had Keane and Dewsbury Hall for him. So that's just one to throw it out there. But look, I just want to give you my opinion, right? So actually, for me, how do I feel about it? I'm not convinced at all, to be honest with you. I think in terms of profile, that's something to hear. But the reason why I'm not convinced is this. I want to give you a different example. This is Serie A right now. This is Como. This is Cesc Fabregas's team, right? And they, a bit similar to us, are in relegation trouble, right? So they got promoted out of Serie B last season. They're trying to establish themselves in Serie A, and you can see that there's a bit of a heated battle, right? But the thing is these are the signings that these guys have made by comparison, right? They've signed Lox's favourite, Ivan Fresenda, I can't say his name correctly, a right back from Sports. Yeah. From Sporting Lisbon for 10 million. They've signed a centre-back, a very well-regarded one, Alberto da Senna from Cagliari. They've also signed Asana Diao. He's another kind of FM legend in the game as well. So what's my point? My point is to me, this is what a team who's serious about staying up in the division does, right? These are all good young players. They got future resale value, but they're going to make an impact now. I'm just going to be honest with you, right? If we're spending 1.5 million on a player, you know, I appreciate that his contract is up, but he's not even in the first team, right? He's a squad option. So he might be a good option. It's better to have someone than no one. I will say that much. And look, I do hope I'm wrong. You know, we have made surprise signings in the past that have gone on to be good. And I think the obvious example of that was Robert Huth. People thought he was finished. He wasn't just not finished. It turned out he was one of the best centre-backs in the league when he was paired with Wes Morgan. But for me, I'm very underwhelmed. Better to have some signings than none, but that doesn't scream as the sort of signing that keeps us in the division.
Well, Doc, it aligns with what John Percy said on his article yesterday, that Leicester's priority is well, I think he said cheap, so let's call them budget fullbacks. I mean, that's what this guy appears to be, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think just because you're on a budget, you have to sign bad players. So quite clearly, you see something in him, right? I think with what I've seen from my eyes, and obviously I've been looking at the highlights, right? Because where else can I go and find, you know, that many Serie A games to sit and watch and analyze in that short space of time? So obviously this is like very quick analysis just from the hip, really, from what I've seen. But the profile seems to be fitting what Ruud needs, what the team needs for a right back. He's a cut price. He's still, out of 18 games, he's been involved in 16 of them, starting 12. That is not someone who's out in the cold. It's might not be a nailed-on starter, but certainly someone who has had a say in this Parma team. And if we get a cut price deal because his contract is 6 months left, I don't mind it. I think that would be a gem if he turns out to be incredible. But if he's an improvement on James Justin, even just by the 10-15%, that could be the percentage we need to keep us relevant in this relegation battle. And if we have more money to spend in the transfer window, I'd rather see us spend it on something like a right wing or whatever, Skov Olsen and Ernest Nuamar, because that's also my hopeful belief that the fact that we're saving a bit here on a fullback, getting a cut price deal, means that we have money to spend in other departments. Not massively, or not a massive amount, but maybe 10-15 millions left in the budget or whatever.
I just wanted to bring this comment up from KCK. I don't necessarily disagree with you, KCK, but what I would say is that's exactly the type of profile that we need in Ruud's system, as weird as it sounds. Like, I would dare say this. I think Dani Alves, despite being one of the best fullbacks of all time, was essentially a failed winger, because in Brazil, it's so hard to be a winger that he got moved to fullback. But it turns out that in the European game, being a fullback that can attack like a Brazilian winger is pretty good. I'm not saying Coulibaly is going to be someone who can play to that level, but I actually think if you compare the two in the system that we've got under Ruud, one of the reasons why our chance creation isn't as good as it could be is because either him or Christensen. I think it's the same, although I do think Christensen was providing more in recent games with his crossing. But having someone who's a bit fast, who can dribble past someone and put in a cross or cut back onto the other foot is, on paper, for our system, what you want. For the more defensive games, you play JJ. For the games where you think you've got more of a chance, you want someone who's a bit more aggressive. And that does fit the player profile, I would say.
I think it's important as well, lads, to remember that I don't want to, read between the lines too much and speculate, but John Percy did say the priority of our cheap fullbacks. Does that mean we could see more than one fullback come in? Because again, if you think about it, all it takes is one injury. Maybe, you could easily get 2 injuries, but another injury and you're thrown into chaos a little bit more, especially if Hamza's leaving as well, right? That's one of the potential options. So maybe we could see them sign a couple cheap fullbacks instead of one.
Buy one,
really
get one free from Parma. Who else have they got?
That definitely still be place for someone like a Kevin Dix, right? As well, still 6 months left, can play centre
He
back.
can't get Dix off his mind. He can't get it off his mind.
I can't believe you said that sentence on an official
sorry.
Regardless, Lux. Hilarious as it was. I think someone like that would be great, right? Because then we have plenty of cover. Remember, if he does a better job than JJ for 2-3 months and gets to some point, it would be brilliant. And who knows, when Ricardo comes back in March, he might just take the fullback spot over again because he could still be in tip-top shape, being a good Premier League right back. So I think if we sign this guy, he's better than JJ immediately, and he can prove a good squad option or maybe a good championship right back or left back if we go down as well. I think it's a win-win situation for the price.
That is one thing that is true. The price is important, I suppose. I get it, Come the end of the season, if we stay up, somehow we stay up, but this Woyo Coulibaly hasn't worked out, let's say he only plays 3-4 games, whatever, then I suppose we can look back and say, well, he was only a couple million, it is what it is. But if we come to the end of the season and we get relegated, it's a completely different story. And people will say, well, we needed a top right back and we got this budget right back. I don't want to be mean to this guy too much because we don't know. We haven't seen him play in blue yet, right? But I'm just saying, on the face of it, it doesn't look like it will be enough. That will not be enough, surely, Anil. It won't be enough.
No, of course not. That's exactly been my point, is that, unfortunately, this signing doesn't scream staying up. And Rye just put it there. What about Max Aarons from Bournemouth? Obviously, we can't loan another player from the Premier League. That's why that Fresneda. Say his name, please. Fresneda. Oh my God. I'm proper dyslexic here. And I'm not even dyslexic, by the way. Fresneda. He, by the way, Como are signing him for a loan with an obligation to buy for 10 million. So I feel like there's clever business that we could have done there to get a good player that would make a difference. Look, I hope I'm wrong. At the end of the day, the price doesn't matter. I remember after Esteban Cambiasso left, we signed Gökhan Inler and then we signed N'Golo Kante. And the Kante signing, I don't know about you, but at the time I thought it was a joke. I thought signing a player who's that short for the Premier League is inevitably going to work out as a disaster. But at least we signed Inler, who's proven at the top level. And I think Inler played about 3 games and N'Golo Kante went on to be arguably the best box-to-box ball-winning midfielder of a generation. So sometimes we bring him up. And look, I actually thought Fatawu, when we first signed him last season, I didn't like the sound of it. I thought we should have signed a guy called Jesserin Raksaki, who is a winger at Palace, who's on loan this season at Sheffield United, who tore up League One. And as it turned out, we all fell in love with Fatawu for obviously the right reason, and he was a brilliant signing. Even Yunus Akgün didn't quite work out, but there was a player there who was better than Cesare Casadei, I would say. So you never know.
Because when Fatawu happened, and when Akgün happened, they both happened quite close to each other. And because obviously Akgün ended up playing predominantly as one of the advanced states when he did play, right? But he was signed in, and a lot of people thought he's going to be a winger, right? But on the face of it, you thought Akgün, he's the guy. He's going to be the one that comes in and he will be the starting right winger. And then it turned out, like we said, that Fatawu, because remember, McAteer started the season very well, I must add. He started it very well. And then Abdul Fatawu came in and we were like, wow, this kid is electric. So, you never know what a signing will turn out to be. I mean, look at Daka. Look at Patson Daka. Everyone thought this guy is the Vardy replacement that we've been looking for since we won the league. And he turned out to be a donkey. So,
and I think that some of the I don't want to say analysis or English text to be right. It's because let's just talk about Max Aarons, right? You're getting a known quantity, a fullback that has been hyped for years as one of these big upcoming English fullbacks. I think 10 million for him. I mean, it could be a good deal, but it could also definitely fail because I mean, he hasn't stuck it. He hasn't made it work at Bournemouth. Who knows if he really can cut it in the Premier League at that point, right? I mean, we're signing an unknown quantity here for next to no money, I'd assume, really. And obviously, that doesn't scream ambition, but that's because we don't know him. That's because we don't know his quantity. From what I've looked like, he seems like a profile that fits. But I'm going to be honest. I think someone like Jaden Philligan or whoever Ipswich was like, they're being robbed from what I've seen from him. And I'm happy we're not going for that signing. This is what we need in the financial situation we're in, the profile that Ruud needs. And I mean, he could turn out to be absolutely shite. I don't know. I don't know enough about him. But there is also the possibility, like we've seen with Fatawu, and like you often see with these signings, they can definitely have something in them. And he doesn't have to do much to repay that transfer fee, it sounds like. I want to keep my arms open for him and welcome him. We've been complaining about James Justin. We're getting something different with this guy, that's for sure. I think everyone needs to give him some time to adapt, of course. But he's 24. He's at that age where he should land pretty quickly on his feet. And I think if he ends up playing a big part in keeping up, people will look back at this in 6 months saying it's one of the best pieces of business we've had in years.
Well, the one thing I will say is if you compare him to Oliver Skipp, like a signing like this, even if you get it wrong, it's not a disaster. So I think there's something to be said for that. But at the same time, Locks is quite right to point out, but yeah, if you don't gamble hard enough, it's like if you're playing 21s and you bet on 16, I mean, if you don't win any pot out of that, then, you played it too safe. You had to gamble to see if you got the vibe, right?
And this is a gamble because, like I just said to the Duck, right, the end of the season, if we get relegated, people will look back and say, we signed a right back from Parma for £2 million when we should have gone out and bought a top right back instead. And that's a big part. But last question for you both. Let's say this deal gets wrapped up over the next few days. What is the next position we go for? Well,
there's what we should get and what we will get. You said it yourself.
What do you want the club to go for next?
No, I want what Duck has said. I think we need a winger. We need another right winger for Fatawu. I'm actually surprised he feels that way again about Philogene. Maybe he wouldn't make the immediate impact, but I think he was really good. He's a player that I would have liked to have signed in the summer because I think he could have provided competition for both of them. His English young player could do well. Obviously, you got Manny's favourite. God, I keep hearing about Ernest Nwama in my chat at 3 a.m. in the morning from Manny, who's dreaming of him. I'll be honest with you, I think he might be a bit overrated because he's only scored 1 goal in the last 2 years. But
you haven't seen enough of him, man. That's all I'll say.
Say again?
You haven't seen enough of Nwama, man. He's special player. Like Jan Kubaminte, absolutely special.
Well, Locks often says I'm special, but I don't think he means it in a praising way, shall we say. But look, he could be good. But what I'm saying to you is, Duck, is that here's the thing: is signing potential is not what we need right now. In my opinion, what you need someone who is going to be the difference maker. You need someone you come in, you go, that is categorically a good signing that is going to improve the team, which I don't think. So, for example, if we'd have signed Max Aarons from Bournemouth, his ceiling might not be that high, but I think he would make a difference immediately, kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. So look, maybe the last Ghanaian winger we signed was amazing. He could be good. But yeah, to answer Locke's question, I want to see, and because that changes the entire way that the team plays as well, right? Instead of having to put a fullback that can sometimes get involved in the attacking side of the game, we know that when Fatawu played, Mavididi got better as well, unsurprisingly, because the other opposition have got to think about 2 different things. So I'd love to see a winger.
Just talking about a winger, I'll tell you what is a shame, and he's not available anymore. We had a little mini saga with him in the summer, lads. Wilfred Zaha. Obviously, he went to Lyon. He is on loan. The loan fee for him at Lyon is £3 million. That's it. We're paying triple that for Odsonne Edouard. It's baffling. Obviously, it sounded like if it wasn't for the whole, it's like something to do with tax, wasn't it? It was tax reasons. Yeah. If it wasn't for that, Zaha would be in a Leicester shirt right now.
I wanted to see that so bad, Locks. Because as I said at the time, And I'll still say it. That is the type of signing that one signing alone could keep you up. And you know what?
Yeah.
Fataw's out, but you've got Zaha. I'd still give us a chance. I really would.
Yeah, I am just to answer the question before, right? I think I agree with Anil. A right winger or a winger in general would be what we need right now. The reason, for example, the thing about Jaden Phillips, I haven't been too sold on. Obviously, I've seen a lot of Nuama. I've seen him destroy teams in the Danish Super League, and yes, there is a big gap from that to the Premier League. I think him 10 to 50 million or loan potentially is a risk-free option. Or other than that, if we want someone who could walk into the starting 11, Skov Olsen, man, he's available for 10 to 15 million. He's being negotiated right now for Wolfsburg instead. He is a star in the Belgian league, man. That is someone I would love to see because I know from day one he could walk in and he could be the difference maker.
Are you surprised he's not been linked with other Premier League clubs?
I mean, he's been when I googled images for him when I made the thing for our scouting report. I saw "Welcome to Arsenal" compilations made by him, putting him in Arsenal shirts, and I know Tottenham have scouted him as well. Like he's been scouted by big clubs. He is putting out week in week out in the Belgian Pro League, dominating that league, making it look easy. He could definitely walk into our lineup currently with the lack of right wingers we have, and I'm sure he could make a difference. He's clinical in the final third. I really want him, and for 10 to 15 million, man, it is an absolute bargain. And we're not paying the English tax like for someone like Jaden Phillips, who could provide competition and be useful, but will cost 5 million more and hasn't done anything so far this Premier League season for Aston Villa.
But again, you look at the money that they've spent. It's the sign of a club that is doing what they can. Well, it's a sign of a club that's doing what they can to stay up. And you know what? With Godfrey, with Philogene added, probably a couple more to be added as well.
Yeah, they will.
They look a lot more likely than us to stay up this season. That is for sure. Recent performances, of course, have helped that. But Southampton are doomed. We're in the middle of Southampton. We're in between Southampton and Ipswich in regards to likeliness.
I hate to say it, Locks, but a lot of people are calling us doomed already. I was watching James Lawrence Alcott earlier today, and he goes, "Yeah, I think bottom two's already done and dusted," and that is sad to hear from someone who, I'll be honest with you, that guy as well. The season that we went down, he didn't say we'd go down, but he was someone who predicted us to be 14th in the table, and he's like, they haven't signed anyone, they've let one of their best players go, they're on the decline, their stats are showing it from last year, they'll probably be all right, but this is the team in decline. And he was big time right, because everyone else was calling us 9th and stuff like that. So I hope he's wrong, but he tends to know what he's talking about, this JLA. The only thing I will say is he supports QPR, so hopefully we do his team tomorrow.
There's going to be a show on it, guys, at some point. But the fact that we had the perfect opportunity to reset and we are currently in this situation is just it's so sad, man. It's so sad. Yeah, Sean, you say it, mate. You say that, and it's kind of like, of course, we've still got 2 weeks of this window left. And I mean, we don't need to go into now. I was going to ask you, I suppose I could just get a quick yes or no. If we did get relegated, do you see Ruud staying for a championship season? And do you see the board keeping him?
I think we want him to. I don't know if he wants to. That's how I'll phrase it.
I think he will stay, and I think he'll do a good job. I actually think if you look at some of the hires he's doing, or even some of the signing that he's making, I think he is here for the long haul. And I think that bodes well because, for example, he brought in that Man City, the person who was looking after their youth development program. That's exactly the type of hire if you're trying to do it. He's trying to get involved some of these younger players and stuff like that. He's talking about the style of play. So for me, that's great news to hear that, because that's what we need. And even if the worst should happen, the thing that made me sad is that with Enzo was doing really well because he was clearly building something. He was talking about, I want to be in charge of this team for 5 to 6 years. So obviously we have to hope that Ruud is as good as that. But if he was good, then it would be nice to see someone who's good at developing players and taking them up. Oh, you're muted, Locks.
Yeah, you're muted.
Sorry, I was just going to say, Doc, I know you need to jump, mate. So we'll end the show there. Thanks to both Anil, thanks to Andreas, thanks to everybody in the chat. Much appreciated. We will be back on for Matchday Live tomorrow at 1:40. Cheers all. Bye-bye.
Cheers.